Texas Tech 77, Drake 64. Red Raiders put an end to Drake's stellar season. 31 wins for Drake, the first year head coach at the D1 level. All the D2 transfers, like a phenomenal story for Drake this season. Came to a close here at the hands of a better team. It was pretty clear in this game that Texas Tech was simply better. They were bigger, more athletic, more talented, more skilled. They finally got the ball to JT Toppin instead of shooting 8 bajillion threes. That seemed to help Texas Tech in this one. Toppin finished with 25 and 12. Darren Williams, 28, 6 and 5 as well. Really good performance from the Red Raiders.
Yeah, really, really, really good performance from the Red Raiders. Been using this term a lot. I'm sorry, everybody, but it was very, very professional.
Yeah.
Got in, got out. They got the ball to Toppin. I thought Toppin was super impressive. Darian Williams was super impressive. I thought their guard plays got to Drake a little bit. Drake's guards held up better than I thought they would, though. And I think the reality of it is like, hey, Drake, like you're a good team. You just ran into, I don't want to call them a juggernaut, but they're a bit of a wagon. This Texas Tech team is really impressive. I don't know. Who do they play in the next round again? They
They'll
get Arkansas.
they'll play Arkansas.
Yeah, that's a rough matchup for Arkansas. In
Yeah.
my head, they're going to play St. John's. Obviously, the one upset that happened today was Arkansas over St. John's, but that's a rough matchup for Arkansas. Honestly, rough matchup for anybody in the country. I think my most anticipated Elite Eight game is probably going to be Tech, Florida, if we get it.
Yeah, I this Texas Tech team, we don't talk about them in the same vein as we did about a month ago because they were hurt down the stretch and lost a couple games. But this was a team like mid-February when that you did all the Torvik stats of how everybody looked from the like since counterflip 2025, all that stuff, was a top five, top 10 team in the country. And then they rose to top five, top 10 in every single site for the year. We stopped talking about them that way because they got hurt. And so they were limited in some of those big games that they lost. And they just took care of business in the others. But this is a Texas Tech team that can make a Final Four.
Mhm.
They're that good, and they've been that good. Top five offense, defense is coming along, but they've won an NCAA tournament game shooting 46 threes, and they've won an NCAA tournament game shooting 2 of 14 from three because they dominated somebody down low. And having that kind of versatility in the multiple ways they can beat you is something that is special and something that teams that make long runs need to be able to do.
Yeah. By the way, if you get out of this region, you can win the championship. You can win the championship. You avoid Duke until the Natty. You avoid Houston until the Natty. Respectfully to Auburn, you and Riley have a recap of that game up on the channel. I'm not on it. Respectfully to Auburn, they strike no fear in me right now, like none whatsoever. Um,
Yeah.
and Michigan State does. Shout out Moneybag Jace, that's my guy. But if you're telling me you get to play Michigan State or Auburn instead of Duke or Houston, give me that matchup all day. And then once you're in the Natty, anything's possible. So I think Texas Tech, if you're looking for a team to come out of nowhere, shock the world, win a national championship. This Texas Tech team appears to be that. They won a game where they shot what 46
They shot
threes,
46 threes in
school
the
record, and
first
then they
round
won a
game.
game where they just packed the paint and said, "We'll just get a bunch of layups." They showed they can beat you either way. Now, granted, the 46 threes ways was not nearly as impressive as what they did tonight, but they showed they can beat you in a variety of different ways. Houston Gonzaga's on to the left. My dog Master P's there to watch Mercy. Recap for that game's up on the channel too. Shout out Master P. But this Texas Tech team is very, very impressive. They can beat you in a bunch of different ways. Really athletic. JT Toppin doesn't get spoke about enough as maybe one of the top five best players in the country.
Let's talk about him because he was a second team All American, one of the best players in the Big 12, one of the best big men in the country. He, I think, for the tournament, if I can do some quick math here, is 17 of 21 from the field in two games. Like his efficiency, his athleticism is, I think, what makes this Texas Tech team go. Which, by the way, they didn't have Chance McMillan in this game.
Yeah, yeah.
But with him, Elijah Hawkins, Darion Williams, like there's your trio, and you have Curran Walton just draining threes from wherever he wants to. All that goes because Toppin attracts so much attention in the middle.
Hmm. And Darian Williams kind of does too,
Right.
right?
Like that two-headed monster is phenomenal.
Phenomenal. And their guards aren't bad either. That's the thing about this team is like they don't have guard play that would cause you issues. They're very well balanced. They're very Florida like in a way. I feel
Yeah.
like every team has a weakness. Like if I look at Duke, and I mean this as respectfully as possible to Duke, that's my national champion. Um, Tyrese Proctor, in my opinion, is probably one of the worst point guards out of that elite team class,
Mhm.
right? Not it left in the tournament, but I'm talking about like when you compare him
The
to
top tier.
Michigan
Yeah.
State's, Auburn's,
Yeah.
Houston's, Tech, Florida, so on and so forth. Like he's probably the one you're choosing him towards the latter end of that, right? So you can kind of find spots where you can get out of Duke. Auburn, I don't know what their weakness is, but they're doing it to themselves lately. I'll give them that. Michigan State can't shoot necessarily. Houston doesn't really have a weakness. Florida doesn't really have a weakness. I think Texas Tech falls a little bit closer to that category of teams.
If there is one potentially, it didn't play a role this game, but do you have any concerns about depth from them given the injury stuff? And in this game, Elijah Hawkins had 16 to go along with Toppin and Williams. They're great games. But outside of those three, the rest of the roster combined for 8 points.
Yes and no. So the reason I say no is when you look at the schedule, it seems daunting. 2 games in 3 days. But within that, you get what, 5 or 6 days off in between. So you're looking at like you get a week off in between games, you can kind of go for it. And you don't really have anything to really um, no reason to preserve yourself. Like this is all you have. You have for Texas Tech, you now have 4 games for the rest of your life across 2 weeks. So you play, yes, you play 2 games in 3 days, but you play 4 games in the span of 14. That's nothing. That's nothing for these guys. So I think as long as they take care of themselves, hydrate, nutrition, I'm definitely not one to discuss any of those topics. However, like as long as they're taking care of themselves, I don't really fear the depth thing. I think they have enough depth to get by. You need a little bit, but I don't really think you need to go like 9 or 10 deep the way like maybe like a Bama does. I
Mm.
think as long as you can go 7 or 8 deep, you should be fine.
Texas Tech dominated the glass against a smaller Drake team, as expected. Right, like they've been the beneficiary of playing two double-digit seeds
Hmm.
to get to this point. And as good as Drake is, there is the flaw there with the lack of size that played a role. Um, in the UNC Wilmington game, they did not win the battle on the glass. They were out rebounded by a team that, while not as talented, had similar height. I think that probably had something to do with the advantage on the inside in this game, but that was the only spot that they really outplayed Drake overall. Like they controlled the pace, controlled the tempo, but you look at the box score, like Drake shot the threes they wanted to. They didn't turn the ball over. Texas Tech didn't turn the ball over. They didn't turn them over either. But like they won where they should have won on the glass. How can they like to me Texas Tech is a team where I don't know if I've seen them like truly impose their will on anybody,
Hmm.
which I think is the next challenge. Because if we're going to talk about them being in the elite tier,
Hmm.
it, it is imposing your will. And I think that is like kind of forcing it to JT Toppin.
Well, what I
What?
think
I guess the best version, I would apologize because I'm asking this very incorrectly. The best version of Texas Tech looks like what? Because I thought this game,
yeah,
they did what was obvious for them to be able to do. Right, where
I
like
think
you're the bigger team, win the glass, win inside, did that, check mark, done. But they didn't do that against Wilmington
right.
because Wilmington had size to kind of match them. So if you're just Texas Tech best version in a vacuum, what does that look like?
I think it looks like this game. So I think the best version of this Texas Tech team, if you're trying to like find a how can they play their best style of basketball, I think this team is very similar to the Jarrett Culver teams. The difference is you play through JT Toppin instead of Jarrett Culver. But if you do everything else stylistically the same, I think that's the best version of this Texas Tech team. And that's kind of what I saw from them in this game, right? Where it's like first on the ground for every loose ball, dominated the boards. They were more physical. They wanted it more. That's a very general term, but it felt like they wanted the game more. They hustled more. They didn't make a ton of mistakes. The difference is you played inside out instead of like with Jared Culver, you kind of played outside in. So I think it's very similar to what they did in this game. I think their absolute best version of them probably gets a little bit more from the guard play. Obviously, Chance McMillan is a part of that best version of them as well, and he subsequently didn't play in this game. But overall, I thought you saw very similar to what their best version is. I agree. Like we haven't seen them just dominate a team the way we see Duke dominate teams. But I think at this point, in the tournament where you're going into the Sweet 16, not to disrespect Florida, UConn, or Florida, and then potentially Maryland, Colorado State, but you're looking at Arkansas, Florida to get to the Final Four. I
Yeah.
don't think you're going to dominate either one of those teams. So I think if you're a Texas Tech fan, your solace is we know how to win these close games more than we know how to dominate teams. So it doesn't fear us to be in these wars.
Yeah. I think that's a great point. I think that's a great point. With what they showed in this game, do you feel better about their chance to knock off Florida or knock off people they need to knock off Arkansas, I should say, and then knock off potentially Florida or somebody down the line and make a Final Four? Or are you right where you were at before and this was just, again, taking care of business and doing what they should have done?
What's the chances McMillan plays?
I don't think he's out for the season.
Okay.
I think there's a solid chance. He solid chance that he is back, but let me see if there's an update. Because I do think that matters.
I agree. And I think it matters even more because the dude Thierry is back.
Yes.
So that kind of like makes it 10 times more important in my eyes.
He's last I've seen, he's quote unquote getting there.
Gotcha. Well, I guess the dude Thierry is not officially back, but it sure seems that way. Practice yesterday. They thought he might have played today. Seems very like likely that he would play next Thursday.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, with that in mind, I mean, I think the Arkansas game is going to be tough because Arkansas. What's interesting, this Arkansas team, like, I mean, I don't want to get into it. I know you will probably have a Ralph report on it at some point. So I'll let you, I want to make sure you're able to save your thoughts for that. This Arkansas team is good. Don't get me wrong. But I feel like everyone, because they beat St. John's, is kind of looking at them like some of the Kentucky teams of Cal's past, which I'm not sure they are. But at the same time, they do kind of have a lot of similarities to Texas Tech.
Yeah.
And I think the two big lineup, especially if you bring Tierra back, could cause Toppin and them some issues. Some, not a
Yep.
lot, because Toppin's much better than any of them, but he could cause them some issues. So I think that's an interesting matchup. I don't love the Florida matchup for them. I don't love the Florida matchup for anybody though. So I think
It's true.
I don't think I necessarily have a differing opinion on that game than I would if Florida was playing anybody.
I think this validates Texas Tech season and validates all of the hype that they got that was warranted, right? Anything above this, I think you obviously take as gravy, and this team will tell you that they want more. I think with Arkansas being on deck, you're thinking of we should be in the Elite Eight, and that's a I think with the way this team is constructed, a very very real possibility. And then you're giving yourself a 1 game deal to make a Final Four against the national championship favorite, one of the favorites in Florida, more than likely. A lot still has to happen to get there, but everything we've seen from Texas Tech to this point doesn't give me a reason to doubt them.
Yeah, they're a very, 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 very talented, well-rounded team.
Yes.
And the only reason I would doubt them if they come out there and chunk up 46 threes against any of these teams, I know they'll lose that game.
Unless they make 20 something of them.
I don't think they will.
It is March, and that means that March Madness is upon us. And if you are looking for a place to play, Underdog Fantasy has you covered. Sign up and deposit using code SLEEPERS, that's code SLEEPERS, to receive up to $1,000 in bonus credit plus a free pick. Head over to Underdog Fantasy today and use promo code SLEEPERS to take advantage of this amazing offer.